Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is equip. Let's take a look at how we can use this verb. The main way you'll hear the verb equip used is to mean to make ready. And making someone or something ready could be by wearing certain clothing, so that's the dress. It could be by having certain supplies or tools. You should know that equip is a regular verb. To make the progressive form, I want you to look carefully at the spelling here. You're going to notice I'm going to add an extra P before I add ing. And if you've had me in class or you've been watching a lot of these videos, normally I would talk about the consonant, vowel, consonant, and that results in a doubling. Here we have two vowels and then a consonant. So there's a bit of an exception to our rule, but again, please notice we're doubling the P on the ending in the progressive as well as in the past tense and the participle. So the progressive form is pronounced equipping. The past tense and participle forms are pronounced equipped. And the reason for that is our base verb ends with a P sound, it's voiceless. So our ed ending is making a T sound. Now, I will note that you're probably more likely to hear the verb equip used with phrasal verbs. And there are two primary ones that I think you should know. The first is to equip for. And this means generally someone is preparing, could be another person, could be themselves, mentally for some particular task, maybe a situation that could be kind of challenging. So let's look at an example of this meaning in a sentence. The new CEO is not equipped for this job. He struggles to make timely decisions. So in some jobs, it really helps if a person is extremely confident, sure of themselves, able to make quick decisions. Being the chief executive officer, that CEO, would be one of those jobs. And so if someone struggles with that mentally, then this job is probably not a great fit. The second phrasal verb you might hear is equip with. This means to supply with the necessary items for some particular purpose. Here's an example of that. Hospitals were equipped with extra ventilators during the pandemic. So here, hospitals were supplied. This is an example of a passive voice sentence. The emphasis is on who received the action, so received the equipping, and that's hospitals. Now let's continue practicing using our verb of the day, equip, in a couple different verb tenses. Today we're going to focus on the simple past tense and the present perfect progressive. Let's start with the simple past. We use this verb tense to talk about an action that was completed at some known time in the past. Usually you will see signal words or time signals, yesterday, last week, 1985, right? All of those things would indicate something in the past. And in an affirmative sentence, we're going to use our ed ending no matter what our subject is. And you can see that with the example sentence. The company equipped its employees with the latest technology at the beginning of the pandemic. Some companies were able to make sure everybody had laptops, really good cameras, microphones, headsets, etc., so that they could continue to work from home. Others struggled with it because there was such a huge demand for those supplies and tools. Now let's take a look at making a negative sentence. To do this, no matter what our subject is, our structure is going to be did not and then the base verb. So we're not using the ed ending with the negative. The climbers didn't equip themselves with the right tools for winter mountain climbing. So again, this goes back to that idea of having the right supplies, being prepared for, in this case, likely some ice and snow as they climbed a mountain. Now let's look at making a yes or no question in the simple past tense. To do this, we'll start with did, then we'll have our subject, and then the base verb. Again, no ed ending here in our yes or no question in the simple past. An example, did the Capitol Police Chief equip the frontline officers with the right gear on January 6th? If you've been following the news, you still know there's a lot of investigations ongoing about the riot at the U.S. Capitol. And this was a particular question I heard someone ask as they were kind of analyzing new information, new evidence that's been made public. Now, let's take a look at the present perfect progressive. To make this verb tense, we're going to need 3 parts. So I like to tell students, see those 3 P's in the title, 3 P's, 3 parts. So our structure here is going to be have or has, then we'll use been, B-E-E-N, and then we'll use the progressive form or the ing form of the verb. We're using this verb tense to describe an action that started in the past and it continues into the present. Let's take a look at an example sentence here. Car makers have been equipping cars with more cameras and sensors. So you might hear automakers, but car manufacturers, the companies who produce cars, are making sure that these newer ones, and again, this is an activity they have been doing for many years and they continue doing it right now, today. They're making sure that there are more cameras and sensors, I think in the hopes that people are safer. Now, let's take a look at a negative sentence. To do this, we're going to insert not after have or has, and then we'll follow with been and the ing form of the verb. Here's an example. He hasn't been equipping himself for the possibility he won't get the promotion. So here's our phrasal verb, equipping for. So goes back to kind of like mental preparation. Maybe this person is just overly optimistic, very confident, I'm going to get that job. But they might not be mentally prepared if it doesn't happen. Finally, let's look at making a yes or no question with equip. To do this, we're going to start with have or has, whichever word matches our subject, and the subject comes next. And then we'll use been and the ing form of the verb. Here's another example. Has the school been equipping its teachers with relevant training and support? So again, our phrasal verb here, equip with. So having the right supplies, the right tools in order to do a particular task. Now, let's take a look at some words that are related to our verb, equip. And the first one we're going to look at is the word equipment. This is a noun. It's probably fairly familiar to you. It gets used in a number of different settings, but it essentially means necessary items for a particular purpose. So many different businesses, companies will talk about their equipment, what they need to do their job. You'll also hear equipment used often in sports, and that's my example sentence here. The soccer coach is buying new equipment for the season. So this would probably include a soccer ball, could include cones, maybe nets, maybe little pennies that the players will wear to practice game scenarios, etc. There's many other possibilities. The next 2 words we're going to look at are adjectives, and they're sort of connected and related. So we're first going to look at well-equipped, and well probably has a positive meaning to you, and that's good. So if we're describing someone or something as well-equipped, right, means they have the right, or they have enough equipment, supplies, or abilities. So it's not always just tangible things, but can be internal or intangible qualities that make someone prepared. Here's an example of well equipped. Was the hospital well equipped to handle the surge of COVID cases? Again, the answer to that question might depend on where you're living or where you have lived during this pandemic. Some places were prepared, some were completely unprepared. And that leads us to the next one. Ill equipped means that someone or something doesn't have the right experience or the necessary experience or preparation that is needed for a particular situation or task. Here's an example. A 12-year-old child is ill equipped to babysit other children. So here they are, this particular child maybe is not mature enough to be responsible and take care of younger children for whatever reason. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.